Hello and welcome to the NetOP School Introduction. I will be your quick guide today. My name is Ole Haag. I'm the product manager for NetOP School and I'm located in Copenhagen. What you see here is the teacher interface, which consists of mainly three important areas: the left sidebar, the views area, the top bar, which contains the different functions of NetOP School, and the work area, where you are presented with a number of details of the logged on students. In this case, the details view that gives you an overview of the computer name, in this case the log on name, and for instance if a policy was applied on these students either from the beginning or later. The classroom view gives you an overview of the classroom. You can, by right-clicking, decide to set your own bitmap, a picture of the classroom, for instance, or a drawing of the classroom. And once set, you can move around the student records and place them where they actually sit in the classroom. Probably the most popular view is the thumbnails view that gives you an overview of all connected student screens. You can follow them closely as they work, and if you need to work together with the student, just point that screen, double click, and you will have a remote control session with that student, which means that you can control their screens, you can move around elements on their screens. If you want to work by yourself, you can also push this button, which will lock the student keyboard and screen. Let's close this remote control session again. You also have the option of a right-click menu to change the size of the thumbnails or to sort them in different ways. For the moment, let's skip the next three ones: the lesson plan view, the recordings view, and the test view, because they are a bit different from the rest. So let's jump to the activity view. The activity view gives you a live view of which applications and websites are running on each individual student. If there's no information here from the beginning, then you need to press the start button to start picking up the information from the students. But as you can see here, I can see that, for instance, this one is using Solitaire. Now, we don't really want them to spend their time on Solitaire at the moment, so I'll just right-click this to get a menu, and I can decide now to close this remotely, which means that the student will now no longer run Solitaire. So I can control the use of the applications from here. If I want to have a closer look at the websites for each of the students, I can just switch to this tab, the current websites tab. I also have an overview down here of all applications running on all students, and down here I can close all instances of Excel on all computers if I want to do that, whereas here I only close it on the individual student. Close means that they can start it again. Deny means that they won't be able to start it again during this session. Hide means that I will hide it just for a while, and unhide, I can let them work with that application again later. History gives me a report view of which applications have been running on which students from when to when. I can also have a view not by students but by application, which will give me another kind of view. As you can see, I can save the report to a CSV file, which can then be opened, for instance, in Excel later on, and I can print the report. The class setup view is not used a lot because it's automatically built, but if you want to create new groups, this is where you do it. For instance, like this, let's make a new student group, create group, let's say first row. Okay, who's sitting at first row, and just drag and drop the student records to this. Once you go back to the other views, for instance the details view, you will see that we now have a new group down here, which will then select all of the students on first row for, let's say, a demonstration, while the rest will not receive the demonstration. So the class setup view is for organizing your classroom, and some of the advanced functions are also found here. A right-click menu, for instance, with a Wake on LAN option, which will enable you to start all computers remotely, so they're up and running once the class is ready to start. The lesson plan view is a bit different from the rest, since it does not contain any of the student records, but instead it is meant for automating the daily use of the different functions from the toolbar. So instead of having to, each time you want to use attention, have to configure what kind of attention you want to apply, a bitmap, a text file, or that, for instance, it's easier for you to build an automated lesson plan. Right click to add attention. You want to configure attention, you want to use a bitmap, the default bitmap, fine then, and you want to apply attention to all. That's okay, then that's ready. Afterwards you wish to demonstrate your entire desktop. Okay, you want to demonstrate it to all, fine, then that's ready. And finally you wish to apply a policy, and let's have everybody use the allow all policy, so that's ready then. Once you're ready for your class, you can just change to lesson plan view, and you can either right click and say execute, or you can use this button over here to execute the next lesson action. So execute means that now attention is on all screens. Remove it from here. As you can see, you have an indication now that this one was executed. The recordings view contains the list of recordings that you might have made earlier by using this button up here. In this case you have two recordings, one for how to use Outlook specific functionalities in Outlook, or MS Word, for instance. How do I change the font in Word? These recordings can be distributed to the students just by dragging the record to the group, which means that now all of the students have this recording under their recordings tab, so they can view it at any time later. You can organize your recordings in different ways. For instance, say, okay, this is biology, and you don't have any ones right now. There's a spelling mistake, but doesn't matter right now. So you want to make a new recording, so it's just new and local recording, which means that you will now be able to record all activity on the local screen, which means your screen. Let's go back to the recordings here. As you can see, you have them organized here in the top folder, the recordings folder. Let's have a look at the tests view. The test view resembles the previous ones, with an area to the left for organizing your tests, and an area to the right with the list of your tests. to have a closer look at a test, double-click the test, which will open up a list of questions that form this test. Let's add a question. Let's add a multiple choice question to the test. Let's have a topic, capitals of the US. This question is the capital of Florida, question mark, and you add your answering options down here. Miami, another one, Tallahassee, and another one, Jacksonville. Mark Tallahassee as the correct answer. Check, for instance, this box if you want the answering options to be presented in random order for the students. Press the preview button to preview the question as it is presented to the students. Press the time limit button to set a time for the question, or press the resources button to add a resource, let's say a map of Florida. Find it on, browse for it on your hard disk, and add it as a resource for the students to be able to watch, to see a map of Florida before answering the question. You can select a style for your test, set some options, restricted, unrestricted test. An unrestricted test means that the students can take the questions in the order that they want themselves, but a restricted test will present them with one question at a time, and they cannot go back and change the answers that they made. Set a time limit for the full test. Select how you wish to report the score to the students when the test is complete. And finally, let's have a look at the scoring. Pushing this button will show you the scoring grid down here. By right-clicking, you can add some more details to it. Let's have a look at, for instance, the first question. As you can see, there are 7 different answers in this question, and you have decided that 5 of them should be correct to pass the question. You can change that by dragging it to 4 or 6, or you can change the weight of a question just by dragging it like this. As you can see, the rest of the questions are adjusted to the 100% while you're doing that.